Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to take a look ahead not into some crystal ball, but into a future that's being shaped by some really powerful forces that are already in motion. We're going to build a picture of 2026 based on what the data is actually telling us.
So here's the big question, right? What will 2026 really look like? And, the answer isn't some simple, single prediction. It's actually this really complex landscape of huge challenges and, believe it or not, some surprising opportunities all happening at the exact same time.
And this really gets to the core tension of the next couple of years. On one hand, you've got these major headwinds pushing against us, things like slowing global growth and a whole slate of serious risks. But on the other hand, there are these powerful undercurrents, a kind of fragile resilience, and brand new opportunities popping up. This push and pull is what's going to define our world.
So, let's start with the first major driver of this new landscape, a world that is, well, pulling apart. We're talking about geopolitical fragmentation, and as you're about to see, its echoes are being felt everywhere, especially in the global economy.
Let's not beat around the bush. According to the World Economic Forum, the single biggest global risk for the next 2 years is armed conflict between nations. And we're not just talking about current conflicts. We're talking about the rising tensions between major powers like the US and China, which seriously raises the chances of new, really disruptive clashes.
And this geopolitical risk, it doesn't just stop there. It's directly tied to other huge risks. You see a 75% chance of a major geopolitical event? Well, that directly fuels a 60% probability of economic chaos and a 70% chance of your supply chains getting totally wrecked. They're all linked, like dominoes, ready to fall.
The World Bank's chief economist really hit the nail on the head. For decades, businesses kind of knew the rules of the game. But as he says here, all this international disagreement, especially over trade, has just shattered that certainty. The ground is literally shifting under our feet.
So, how are companies reacting? Well, check out this number. It's pretty staggering. By 2026, a projected 85% of companies plan to totally shift their strategy to make and sell their stuff primarily within their own regions. This isn't just a small adjustment, it's a massive rewiring of global trade towards something called friendshoring. Basically, you only trade with your allies.
Okay, moving on to our second section. Because on top of all the geopolitics, there's this immense pressure on our physical world. We're talking about environmental and health crises all converging, and honestly, reaching a pretty critical point.
Just listen to this. In 2024 alone, the economic price tag for natural disasters hit $388 billion. And to put that in perspective, that one-year number is already higher than what a lot of predictions thought we'd hit years from now. The economic damage from extreme weather is speeding up, way faster than we thought.
And right behind that dollar amount is the human toll. In that same year, a record 45.8 million people were forced from their homes by those same disasters. This isn't some far-off problem. This is happening right now on a planet that's under an incredible amount of strain. And extreme weather is really just one piece of a much bigger, scarier puzzle. Experts are warning about all these crises piling on top of each other. We're also facing resource shortages, massive environmental damage, the constant risk of another pandemic, and this quiet but deadly threat of antimicrobial resistance. Any one of these is a huge problem. All of them together, that's unprecedented pressure.
But it is not all bad news. Not at all. Even with all these huge challenges, one of the most profound and genuinely positive shifts in modern history is actually speeding up how we power our planet.
And here it is. This is the turning point. By 2026, with a 90% probability, renewables are on track to become the #1 source of electricity in the world, for the first time ever. It's going to overtake fossil fuels. That is a truly historic moment.
All right, now for our third theme, and this one is a real paradox. It's technology. Because when you look at 2026, technology is clearly both our greatest hope for progress and, at the same time, one of our biggest threats. It's the definition of a double-edged sword.
And you can see the conflict so clearly here. On the one side, you have the risks. Cyber warfare is now the #1 risk for businesses, period. You've got failures to govern AI, misinformation spreading like wildfire, and real job losses for white-collar workers. But on the other side, that same tech wave is bringing incredible progress. We're talking 80% of businesses adopting AI, leading to massive productivity gains and totally new abilities we've never seen before.
And just to be super clear, when we say cyber warfare, we're not talking about some simple hack. This is a whole new battlefield where countries use super sophisticated attacks to mess with another country's most critical systems. We're talking everything from power grids to financial markets.
And what about jobs? Well, some very real forecasts show that AI could displace between 10 to 15% of white-collar jobs by 2026. Now, sure, technology will also create new jobs, but there's a lot of uncertainty about whether those new jobs will pop up fast enough to make up for the ones that are lost.
Okay, so we've got a divided world, a planet in trouble, and this technology paradox. In our last section, let's try to pull this all together and talk about, well, how do you even navigate a future that's this complicated? Here's the most important takeaway. The biggest danger isn't any one of these risks we've talked about. It's the potential for something called a cascade scenario. This is where the risks start to crash into each other and make each other worse. Imagine a hurricane disrupts the supply chain, which then causes economic problems, which then fuels political tension. See, that's the cascade.
So how in the world do you prepare for that? It's not about trying to predict the future perfectly. It's about being ready to respond. And the strategy really boils down to three main ideas. First, you hedge against the risks that are most likely. Second, you set specific triggers, clear signs that tell you, okay, it's time to act. And third, and this is so important, you actively look for the opportunities that are always created during big moments of change. And those opportunities are absolutely real. I mean, think about it. Every single risk we talked about creates a need for a solution. A planet in peril, that creates a huge market for climate adaptation tech. Risky AI, that creates a need for AI governance and auditing. A divided world, well, it needs better cybersecurity and more reliable regional supply chains. These are the big growth areas of 2026.
Which brings us to our final question, and it's really the one that matters most. We've talked a lot about cascading risks, how one problem can set off another and another. The real challenge and the real opportunity for all of us is to flip that entire idea on its head. In a world of interconnected threats, how do we build a future of cascading resilience, where stronger systems and smarter solutions actually reinforce each other to create a safer, more stable world?